Hi guys, this is Sponge, and today we're absorbing cribbage. So today we're absorbing cribbage, rules, and strategies, and today I'm with the cribbage aficionado, Eric Nagle.
Cribbage is a card game that uses your classic 52 pack of cards, a cribbage board, and also these little pegs that fit into the holes. Now the objective of the game is to get pegs, which are points. When you get 121 points, you end at the finish line. If you end before your opponent, you win the game.
So you score points in cribbage with runs of 3 cards in a row, adding up to 15, like 10 and 5. Pairs, like a pair of 7s, or 3 of a kind. Or a flush, having 4 of the same suit. A double run, if the opponent cuts the dealer a jack. Alright, so the game starts by cutting the deck. Whoever has the lowest card is the dealer. 8 of spades.
Deuce. Clubs.
Deuce goes first. So Eric's gonna deal us up 6 cards each to start the game. Since he's the dealer, I'll be depositing 2 of my cards into a separate pile, and he will be depositing 2 of his cards into a separate pile that belongs to him. That's called the crib. That's the advantage of being the dealer. You get to play 2 hands each round instead of 1, and I have the advantage of counting my points first when it comes time for that. So now that we've discarded 2, he has his crib off to the side, we don't worry about it. I cut the deck and he flips what card is gonna be for both of us. So it's a 7 of diamonds. So now we go into the pegging round, and the pegging round is where we each lay a card one after another, trying to work our way ultimately to 31. But at intervals throughout the counting, we can accumulate points by matching cards in pairs, by putting down runs, or by hitting 15 or 31 on the money. You can't go over 31, and if you lay the last card and your opponent can't play his card, you get a go and you get a point as well. So each time we get a point, we move our peg that specified amount of holes. It's as simple as it gets right there. So because he's the dealer, he has the advantage. I have to put a card down first. So now we count our points just based off our hand and the card that was cut. So if you guys see my hand here, I have 2 9s for 2 points, and then I look for all the other indicators of points, which would have been a run, which would have been combinations of 15, which could have been 4 of a certain suit, and I don't have any of that, unfortunately. So I have a pretty weak hand, but I have 2 points, and I move myself 2. You always take the back peg so that you don't lose place of the peg in front. So I'm gonna hop 2 holes, 1, 2. That's it, that was my turn. Now Eric's gonna count his cards for his turn. So Eric's hand in total is this. So this is his hand. So if you look at the points that he has, you see that he has 4 diamonds in his hand, so he automatically gets 4 points. He has a run of 3, the 5, 6, 7, so that's a total of 7 points. And then he has 15-2, which equals 9 points, and then 15-2 more for 11 points. So Eric's gonna move himself 11 holes. We're gonna leave this card because he has 1 more hand in his crib, and he'll count again. Wow. So I'll explain again to the camera that Eric's destroying me in this practice round, only because we're just demonstrating. So he has what we call a double run. So a double run is when you have a normal run of 3, so that's 3 points, 1, 2, 3, but then you have it twice, so it's a double run. A double run is automatically 8 points to start, because if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you have the pair, that's 8 points. So then he would look for other combinations that add up to 15, flushes, anything like that. He doesn't, but it's still a great hand. Right now, Eric is ahead by like 5 or 6 holes, but it's a close game, so we have to go all the way around the board, and that's where we finish. So I'll meet you guys here. So when you're choosing which cards to put into the crib, obviously the most important factor. Is it your crib or is it your opponent's crib? That's step number one. Because you don't want to give your opponent cards that are either guaranteed points or have the potential to make points. So you want to typically not give cards that could create a run or create a flush of any kind or are easily paired to 15, such as face cards, fives, etc. You don't always have a choice because you don't want to break up your hand so that you are missing out on guaranteed points. But because it's my crib, I'm going to give up this one and this one so that I keep these cards together, because you don't want to break up runs and you don't want to break up pairs. And since I have the advantage of having the crib, I can just directly put this pair into my crib. The crib is always going to be less points typically because it's not an intentional grouping of cards. You're putting in two that you hope become something, he's putting in two that he hopes do not become something, and then you're using a cut card that's random as well. So typically you'll have more points in your actual hand than you will in the crib. Do you agree?
Yes. The cool thing about cribbage is it has intentional rules to make certain like checks and balances. So although the dealer gets some of the advantages throughout the hands, the opponent has some other advantages that are there as well. And of course, you know, I think of cribbage almost like a game of life where, you know, you're dealt 6 cards and they might not be in great groupings or great, you know, in great shape, but you kind of have to, you know, trust that you have the best decision-making skills. You pick your best cards for the best chances to get the most amount of points. And so it's a nice balance between a lot of things you can't control, but then the very few things you can control, that's where the game's won. Those extra pegs, those extra points, that's where you end up separating yourself from your opponent.
So the game is over. Game number 1 is over. Let's hear some words from the victor.
Ryan put in a nice push towards the end, but fortunately I got to count first in this last round, and yeah, to go home. So excited to keep going, get on the cribbage grind, and getting ready for game 2. So one thing I do love about cribbage was how I was taught. It was from my grandfather, who taught my father and my sister and myself. So it's just memories of like Thanksgiving and, you know, 4th of July and birthdays where, you know, we break out the cribbage board after dinner. And it was just a really cool way to connect through like multiple generations. And, you know, it's something as, you know, my grandfather got older, you know, I'd go over and then just go to play cribbage. We would go back and forth for hours, and you know, the grandmother would be like yelling at us from the kitchen to put it away because dinner was coming, but we were like, no, we got like 2 or 3 more hands to go. So it's just really great memories, and it's a really great game too for people of all ages and all generations.
It's just such a classic game. It's one of those games that just makes you feel good, and like Eric said, it just brings back memories of simple times and simple summers. And I think that there's nothing really inherently special about cribbage, more just the environment that you play it in, the people that you play it with. Just the board and the pegs, it doesn't mean anything, but the energy that you get playing it and the bonds that you make and the conversations that you have, that's what makes it so special.
Start crying.